Hello students. So today we will be discussing the last topic of the chapter, transport in animals and plants. Okay. So today our topic of discussion is vascular tissue. Okay. First of all, we should know what a tissue is, and then we will be discussing in details about the vascular tissues, what are their function in plants. Okay. So let's proceed. So what is a tissue? A tissue, it is a group of similar cells which work together to perform a particular function, right? Now the arrangement of cells in a tissue, it depends on the function to be performed by a tissue. For example, if a function of a tissue is to carry water from root of the plant to its leaf, then the tubular cells are arranged one over another to form what? To form the long tubes. Okay, and these type of tissues, they are actually known as what? Actually known as vascular tissue. So what is a vascular tissue? Vascular tissues, they are mainly present in the plants. Unlike in case of animals, the blood vessels are present, right, that acts as a medium for transport of, you can say, excretory product, then you can say food, oxygen. Okay, so what are the vascular what are the blood vessels which are present in case of animal? In case of animal, artery, veins and capillaries are the three blood vessels which are present. Okay, so vascular tissues are similar to the blood vessels, but these vascular tissues, they are present in plants. Okay, so what is the definition of vascular tissue? Those tissue which transport water, minerals and food to different parts of the plant, they are known as vascular tissues, right? So basically there are two types of vascular tissues in plant. Number one is xylem and number two is phloem. Okay, very important. What is xylem? The tissue which carries water and minerals from the root to the leaves of the plant is called xylem. We all know what is the function of a root. The function of a root is to absorb water from the soil, isn't it? Now this water, it is taken upward, okay, by what? By the vascular tissue xylem. Okay, because we all know that water, it is essential for the process of photosynthesis. So this water from the roots, it has to be taken to the leaves. Okay, and this is being performed by what? The xylem. Okay, next is what? Next is the phloem. What is phloem? The tissue which carries food from the leaves to the other part of the plant is called what? Is called phloem, right? So phloem is what? Like in the leaves, okay, the food is being prepared. Okay, that is the glucose is being prepared as a result of what? As a result of photosynthesis, right? Now these glucose, okay, from the surface of the leaf it has to be distributed to all the part of the plant. Okay, so this food, okay, it is distributed to all the parts of the plant by means of the vascular tissue known as what? Known as phloem. Okay, so all the parts of the plant, like you can say root, stem, branches and leaves, they contain vascular tissues, that is xylem and phloem. Okay, so these xylem and phloem tissues, they are a kind of tubes which are made up of a tubular cells arranged from end to end. Okay, so the xylem tissue, it is made up of dead xylem cells, whereas phloem tissue, it is made up of living phloem cells arranged one over the another. Okay, so now what we are going to discuss next, we will be discussing about the transport in plant. Okay, here you can see this is the xylem. Okay, it transports water upward. Okay, and phloem, it transport what? It transport the glucose solution. Okay, the glucose, it is being transferred via solution. The source is the leaf. Okay, to the other part of the plant. Okay, so next is what? Next is transport in plant. Okay, now as we all know that animal, they need a transport system, isn't it? Blood, it is a medium of transport and it is being transferred via the blood vessels, right? So unlike the animals, the plant, they also need what? Transport system. Okay, what for they need the transport system? Number one, for carrying water and dissolved minerals absorbed by the root up to the leaves, and number two is what? To carry the food made in the leaves to all part of the plant including the root, right? Now, like in order to carry water and dissolved minerals, okay, as well as the prepared food, that is glucose, the plant, it has a transport system inside it. Okay, and this transport system, it consists of long tubes called what? Called xylem and phloem, as I said you earlier, right? So this xylem and phloem, it carries the various substance in solution form. Okay, like xylem, it carries the dissolved substances, that is dissolved minerals along with water, and phloem, it carries what? It carries the glucose from the leaves to the other part of the plant. Okay, so now we will be discussing about xylem. Okay, how the xylem it carries. Okay, now we all know that the vascular tissue xylem, it carries water and the minerals dissolved in it from the roots upward through the stem and branches up to the leaves. Okay, so this xylem tissue, it forms a continuous network of vessels that connect the root to the leaves through the stem, branches, and it transports what? Transports the water and minerals to the leaves for entire plant. Okay, now the question is how the water rises from roots upward to the plant. Now in a plant, just understand this carefully. Okay, this is very important. Now in a plant, water, it continuously evaporates from the leaves, isn't it, through the pores called stomata. About stomata you already know, in chapter number 1 I had discussed about stomata. Okay, and this process of loss of water from the surface of the plant is known as what? Is known as transpiration. Very, very important term. Okay, so what happens? The continuous evaporation of water from the leaves, it produces what? It produces a suction force. Okay, that pulls the water from root upwards through the stem and branches up to the leaf. Okay, just like when we drink Coca-Cola or Pepsi from a bottle with a straw. Okay, what happens when you are just sucking, okay, the straw, then what happens? The air which is present inside the straw, it is coming inside our mouth. Okay, as a result, what happens? Inside of the straw, it is creating a vacuum. Okay, so immediately what happens? From the lower part of the bottle, what happens? The Coca-Cola or Pepsi or any soft drink, what happens? It immediately comes and it fills what? It fills the straw, and thus it comes to our mouth. Okay, so we are creating what? We are creating the suction force. So similarly over here, as a result of continuous transpiration, what is happening inside of the plant? Okay, it is creating a suction force that is pulling the water from root upward through the stem and it branches up to the leaf. Okay, so this transpiration, it generates a suction force that pulls up the water absorbed by the root from the soil to reach the leaves. Okay, next is what? Next is the phloem. What is the function of phloem? The vascular tissue phloem, it carries the food from the leaves to all other part of the plant. Okay, so this phloem tissue, what happens? It forms a network of vessels that connect the leaves to all the part of the plant including the root. Okay, and thus what happens? This transport of the food to the entire plant, it gets completed. Okay, now what happens? The food which is made in the leaves during photosynthesis, it consists of what? It consists of glucose. Okay, and it is transported within the plant in the form of what? In the form of solution, that is the glucose solution. Okay, now the force which is needed to push the dissolved food in phloem vessel, these are generated by the living phloem cells present in the phloem tissue of the plant, right? This process of transpiration, okay, it serves a very useful function in the plants. Why? Because it generates a suction force in the side xylem which pulls the water upward, okay, from the root to a great height into the trees. Okay, and another function of transpiration is what? It cools the plant in hot weather. Okay, why? Because the cooling, it is caused by what? Caused by evaporation. As you all know, the cooling is a process which is caused by evaporation, right? Now the rate of transpiration, what happens? It increases in moving air, because what happens? The moving air, it carries away water vapor from leaves as fast as it comes out of the stomata, right? And when the rate of the transpiration increases, then rate of the absorption of water through the roots also increases. Okay, so here you can see in this diagram, here you can see the xylem, it is carrying the water upward, okay, by the suction force which is created. Okay, and in this leaf where the food is made, this is carried by what? This is carried by phloem to all the part of the plant. Okay, so this is all about your vascular tissue. Next day we will be discussing a little bit on how the water reaches from soil to the xylem vessel, and how the water moves, okay, from soil to the root hair. Just simple two things I'll discuss in the next day. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you everyone.